All right, let's get our Facebook folks in here. We can start the show. We got the wheels spinning there. Boom and boom. All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is Wednesday morning. Happy hump day, March 19th. Free agency dust is pretty much settled, and we are rounding third base in the offseason and heading the home stretch for the draft now, even though it's still 5 weeks away. So we'll see. Broncos beginning visits and everything, maybe a few moves before then, but we got a lot of time to pontificate and ponder with the NFL draft. I'm Nick Kendell and joined by Erick Trickel this morning. Eric, how are you doing out there in the great state of Alaska? Is the sun up yet? I think it's still dark here, so I'm guessing not for you.
Yeah, the sun's still down for us, and it's been a harsh few days weather-wise up here. We've had almost more snow in the last couple of days than we did all winter,
Wow.
which is always oh so great. But things are going great. I'm a little tired, but early mornings will do that to you, especially after late nights. But excited to get here. Excited for the Broncos mock that we're going to throw in here at the end since we didn't get to it on Monday.
Yeah.
And yeah, just as always, a joy to be here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's always great to be here. Unfortunately, I think I got a different cold coming in now. So I was getting over hand, foot, mouth, and then I got a cold starting last Thursday. And I always like 2 days behind my son on something. And he started to get over whatever hacking he had. And then yesterday he's hacking again last night at daycare. He's like, oh, you think you might have something else now? And this morning I have something else now too. So if you make sure, I'm going to make sure I mute and anything that I spew will hopefully be off screen. But hopefully, we'll keep the bodily fluids to ourselves and off camera. But, we're here. We're talking football. Appreciate everyone coming in. Let's say hello to folks in the chat. We got Mike Thompson coming in, says, good morning, everyone from cold Colorado. Well, spring is coming, guys. We still got to get through it, but March Madness is here. A lot of fun with that. We got our guy Jason Bonney coming in, always coming in and hanging out with us and the chat, and sometimes dropping some super chats as well. So we appreciate you. Jason says, I'm not really feeling wide receiver round one, but I will say if Tet McMillan, Arizona wide receiver, were to fall at Denver at 20, I'd certainly be okay with that pick. Yeah, it's interesting, Eric. We're getting to the point in the offseason where the media has started to actually really overlap and talk with those in the NFL. And you see people who are perennial top 4, top 8 picks slide. And it's not like, oh, what happened? The games haven't changed. Well, people that weren't in the league have talked with people in the league, and they are being influenced by what they're hearing from in the league. And so we see guys like Tet McMillan sliding down boards, guys like Will Johnson sliding down boards, where other people, Jihad Campbell, rocketing up boards right now. Jahdae Barron wasn't even first round mocks 2 months ago. Now he's going top 15 almost every single time. So Tet McMillan potentially in play for the Broncos. What are your thoughts on Tet McMillan? Because he seems to be pretty split right now for Broncos country.
Yeah, I mean, I would love him for Denver. Obviously that's the way we went with the first round mock we did on Monday. And I do find it funny that we talked about how, with what second tier, that second group of wide receivers are getting, those number twos, like that's probably going to push the value of wide receivers up. And then yesterday, it kind of started later Monday, it started coming out. I was like, oh yeah, the top wide receiver he's still kind of the top receiver, but he's probably not a top 15 pick. We had Daniel Jeremiah tweeting out the fact of you have to go back to, what was it, like 2002, Mike Williams way back when, for the Detroit Lions being a top 15 pick with a plus 4.55 second 40. And then the last one with a plus 4.5 was Mike Evans in the top 15. And, that's kind of the range where you have McMillan at. So he seems to be, as you said, this receiver that maybe the NFL has not been as high on as media fans, you and I, have been on. And now we're just starting to see that fluctuate into what we're seeing from the media guys, from Mel Kiper, from Daniel Jeremiah, that he's not this guaranteed top 15 pick, that his ceiling might be Arizona at 16, as they look to add yet another playmaker at wide receiver for Kyler Murray to pair with Marvin Harrison. So it's definitely a fun one. I would love him for Denver. He's one of 2 receivers I would really like for Denver in the first round. And then the question is like, if he's falling, it makes me wonder if we're actually going to see these 4 receivers that are being talked about as first round picks, if they're actually going to go in the first round.
Yeah, we'll see. It does seem like the 4 you mentioned, you have Matthew Golden, Texas, Tet McMillan, Arizona, Luther Burden III, Missouri, and Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State. it seems like it depends on who you talk to. Igbuka / Burden are falling out of the first round entirely a lot, but with just the value of wide receiver, I'm curious to see how it plays out. And I'm also curious to see the last 3-5 years, your day 2 wide receivers have pretty much been a graveyard. It's really just a horrific hit rate. But this season, I'm wondering if that'll continue, if teams will view those day 2 guys the same. Because like you got Higgins at Iowa State with a great profile all around. I mean, if he played at a bigger school, who knows? But like the athletic testing, the size, the production, it's all there. People are like, oh, I don't know if he's a good athlete. Well, he certainly tested like a good athlete. Goodness gracious. You got Alec Manor, an interesting player as well. I'm sure there's Jalen Noel. It's just Noel. Excuse me. It's spelled Noel, but it's Noel. As well at Iowa State. It's really unfair. Iowa State had 2 first round or top 100 caliber wide receivers in the same team. It's unbelievable. But we'll see. Wide receiver is definitely, I think it should be on the board for Broncos, despite what Sean Payton said previously. Are we taking him at his word there? I don't know. But we'll see. All the same. And also, I really love Jack Besh. Not a first round guy, but day 2, give me that guy. Just a dude, just a dog. We also got, of course, Travis Tarbox coming in here. Says, good morning, fellas. Maybe I'm crazy, but I believe we should take Caleb Johnson at 20, then Terrence Ferguson at 51, and Devin Neal in the 3rd. Denver Broncos for life. Go Hawkeyes. Travis, love you. I think you're probably around early on every single one of those guys. So let's say you sneak in. Gosh, I don't know. Let's say Jihad Campbell for the sake of it. First round linebacker who doesn't even seem like he's going to be there at 20. And then you're talking Johnson at 51, Ferguson 85, and Neal at what, 115, 117. I have no idea what that 4th round number is. Now we're talking, but I think you're around early on each of those guys compared to consensus. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It just seems around early for them. I mean, I like Caleb Johnson. He's a weird one to kind of evaluate a little bit because obviously that Iowa running scheme that they have, but he did a little bit better with, keeping things between the tackles than he did working outside, which you could suggest that he could do better in a more inside zone power gap type scheme than an outside zone. And so like he's kind of a tough one to evaluate, as well as, the lack of receiving ability there. That's probably going to push him down a little bit. Pass protection, what's he like there? That's another one that's kind of been a hiccup with his evaluation. So 20 for when you have those kinds of questions, 20 is a bit rough, but 51, hey, I'd be fine with it there. Terrence Ferguson at 51. Again, it's a little bit rough for him, but at 85, sign me up. If he's there at 85, I think he's in this weird range where like 65 to like 75 is probably where he's going to end up hearing his name called, which puts 51 a little bit too early and 85 being a little bit too late for him. And then Devin Neal. I'm not as high on Devin Neal as a lot of people are, but if you're talking 4th round, I'd consider Devin Neal at 85. I think that's fine for him because I think he's another one of those that I think he's close enough to being valued at 85 that you can make it work. It's not a major reach, but he might not be there at 122 when the Broncos are on the clock in the 4th round. So I'd be fine with that one.
The way I'm viewing it right now, I don't have conviction about some of these running backs in that 85 to 150 range. I like a lot of them like so similarly that I view them tier wise. Somebody that I like in that category, I think is going to be their round 4. So like if let's say Dylan Sampson's there at 85, he's a tier above to me than your Neals, your Giddens, your Harveys, blah, 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 Tootin, whatever, the different body types, different skill sets I know, but still running backs where I kind of categorize those guys similarly. And I think I'd bet on somebody being there round 4 or packaging your 4th and a 6th to move up 5 spots to go get a guy if you really wanted them. But Jeremy's with us about being potentially around early in all of those. We got our guy Dave Glassman coming in with the hearts. Appreciate you, Dave. Hope you're doing well. And Jeremy says Nick has more ailments than Job. Yeah, no, I'm okay. Just, it's the thing is, Eric, the kid sometimes is a little bit fussy with the food, right? And if dad eats it, then he's interested. So he'll like toss something and it's been in his mouth / hand. And it's like, well, I really want you to eat your broccoli. So I'm going to eat this broccoli in front of you and act like I really enjoy it. Well, guess what? Every single germ, virus, whatever that he has was slobbed on it. And I'm in it, in for a penny, in for a pound. Victor Rios, good to see you. We got our guy, Michael Ronquillo, coming in here. Thank you so much, Michael. Michael's always killing it with the stars and the super chats and everything like that. keeping the lights on for us. I know it's kind of we're in the lull in between free agency and the draft, but making sure that you're continuing to support us, whether it be superstars, chats, or just thumbs up on the ways in, helps us a heck of a lot. So if you're like Michael and can toss some Walmart money around like the ownership and support the show, that's awesome. But if not, click the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Otherwise Chad's gonna yank us out of here. We're gonna get the hook. So appreciate you, Michael, all the same. Hope you're doing well. He's talking about one of our constant contributors, also Coach Chris in the house. Morning Broncos brothers and sister. Yeah, some of our superstars in here, some of the top dogs, the number one seeds. But we also do love underdogs as well, Eric.
Yeah, and speaking of underdogs, of course, nothing beats March basketball. Bring the fun of a bracket to every game day by making entries on Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? Well, guess what? You can with Underdog.
To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, such as points, assists, rebounds, and more. Underdog's got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Create entries with all basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. You can play with as little as $1, and you can get and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge.
Yeah, so download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code MHuddle to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code MHuddle. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon your first deposit.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. All right, moving it on here. Appreciate everybody. While we read through those, I don't know if you're laughing at me, Eric, reading those. I'm trying to get those in one breath. One day I will. We got our guy Michael Latsky coming in here. Morning, fellas. Great to see you, Michael. Michael is I've been really appreciating him. He sent me a box of guava marshmallow pies, and they are, man, I'm gonna have I'm gonna be in a diabetes commercial. They are so freaking good. I have no control around those. So thank you so much, Michael, for all the guava flavored stuff. I am quite literally obsessed. We got Heath Holmes coming in here. If I'm not mistaken, Heath Holmes is also an Iowa Hawkeye fan. So we're in good company. Says good morning, Nick and Eric. Would you give us a grade for the Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers off season's move so far? Is the division title available actually this season? Yes, the division title is available this season. It's what's going to make the biggest difference here. Broncos are going to have to once again get a lot of injury fortune. Now we've seen 2 seasons in a row where the Broncos have hit well above expectation as far as the injury front. I don't think that's a robust enough sample size to say that the Broncos have found the secret sauce. If we have like 10 years doing that in a row, there might be something there, but 2 years, it could just be, an outlier, a roll of dice. You can roll double sixes twice, right? That's not crazy. But I want to see it again. So that's number one, staying healthy. And number 2 is just how much Bo Nix can continue to develop. Can he get more comfortable in this offense? Everybody, he's more experienced, second year in the system. He'll automatically be better. We saw CJ Stroud this season, right? It's not a guarantee, but I think it's reasonable to be cautiously optimistic that he can be better. And can he go from let's just be conservative here, Eric. I know we got a lot of Bo Nix love in the chat, and the hopium is very high, but let's say he was a C+ level quarterback last season on the whole for the entire sample, trending towards B-, B. If he can be a B+ quarterback this season, that's just going from a B- to a B+, that is going to be 2 to 3 wins difference on the roster. That's a bigger change on the team than going from a D running back to a A- running back, because just how important the quarterback is. So if Bo Nix can improve, that's going to make the biggest difference for where the Broncos team is at right now.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at that, and with all the focus on running back is the biggest idea of what we're going to get out of the Broncos this year. It all falls on Bo Nix. And you mentioned, getting that B-, C+ tier quarterback last year and how much you can grow from that. Well, if you look at last year, if we got Bo Nix at a B+ level, how many more wins do the Broncos have? I think you can reasonably argue that they have 2 or 3 more wins, including a potential. Well, and it kind of falls off here a little bit because, if you get those wins, maybe the Chiefs aren't resting their starters in second one, so maybe that's one less there. But you might be looking at those extra wins there, including a win against the Chiefs in the first game where they didn't rest their starters, where there were some issues with Bo Nix that obviously he wasn't the only issue here. He wasn't the only issue with any of these games that I'm talking about. but just that extra step up from that quarterback, that extra 2-3 plays can be a major difference maker that the Broncos, if they can get that this year, yeah, the division title, it's feasibly in their grasp, but it's a lot of it's going to fall on what can Bo Nix do with his next step. And you mentioned CJ Stroud, and his year too. If you look at 99% of these quarterbacks in the NFL in their second year, you typically see that sophomore slump is what it's called. It's a very common thing that we see with quarterbacks. So can Bo Nix be one of those quarterbacks that kind of bucks the trend a little bit and steps up and grows in year two, or will it be a slight step back, or maybe even the same as what we get, and then do we see a step forward in year three?
Yep.
Hopefully it's year two, of course.
Yep. And as far as grading these teams, I'll give the Chiefs a D, the Raiders a B, and the Chargers a C as their offseason moves. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be there with you.
Yep. Yeah, and as far as C+ on the grade for Bo Nix, I was being conservative, but what did he rank in, like, as far as his EPA, QBR? He was something like 18th to 14th. And I think I'm grading quarterbacks 1 through 32. The top 5 get A's, the bottom 5 get F's, that kind of thing. He probably falls in the C+ to B-. Now, if we're grading him against quarterback or against rookies, he's an A. But I'm not grading a high school valedictorian against PhDs here. I'm talking about the entire sample of starting quarterbacks. So probably on the whole, as if we're grading on the curve for a rookie, give him an A. God bless.
Yeah.
As good as, pretty much as good as you could have hoped for. Slow start to the beginning, you can backtrack. And I'm like, I don't care. Let's get 8 starts in and let's see where we go from there. But on the whole, probably C+, B-, and that's including those first 8 games in the sample. I don't think that's unreasonable. And again, like, that's, if you get that from a rookie, that's great. But I'm talking on everybody there, like the straight A student, weighted grades, college courses as a senior. I'm not putting them up against Stephen Hawking, which is, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And of course, we have Jason coming in and saying step up for Nix with the added weapons in the chat as well. And yeah, there are things the Broncos can do to help Bo Nix take that step forward, but there's a lot of it is just himself going out there and making sure he continues to execute, making sure he improves in the areas that he needs to. It all starts with the quarterback, and a lot of it ends with the quarterback, really. And we see that with the quarterbacks. I fully expect to see a little bit more out of Bo Nix this year.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, if we don't get it, everybody in the chat will be the first to hear about it. But yeah, I'm expecting more from him this year, and I'm expecting him to take that step forward and keep the Broncos in, that position for the division title. I said on the show last Friday night, the Broncos are back, and I do think that they're back. Now, how back are they? That's up for debate. And it just all comes down to what Bo Nix does himself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Coach Chris, $20. Thank you so much, Coach Chris, coming in supporting the show with the dude with the Big Lebowski. I think we had like a 25-year anniversary or 20-year anniversary on the Big Lebowski. Have you seen the Big Lebowski, Eric? I know you're kind of okay. Well, off-season homework for you. You'll either really love it or you'll think it's dumb, but I hope that you appreciate it, because it's a fun one. He says, good morning, Nick and Eric. After watching Golden Tate, or not Golden Tate, Matthew Golden, said Golden Tet there, so I got it confused. And Tet McMillan this year, I would go with Tet without question. Golden is quicker, but I think Tet is better, more rounded wide receiver. Eric, stay away from the carrots. Love the show. Love the show. God, what a good job, Coach Chris. I love it. Man, I like both these guys. I think Tet I like more for Denver, because Golden, he just seems like a little bit more like 10, 11 personnel guy without the physicality. Like, with how much screens the Broncos want to utilize in the running back in the pass game, I want my wide receivers to have more of a physical profile as a blocker. And I don't think Golden really brings that. He's more of the Jerry Jeudy mold, where it's like, we're going to be intermediate, quick pass game, but more wide receiver spread focus, where I don't know if that's necessarily what Sean Payton wants to do. But Golden, if you're looking for a man coverage beater that can play Z or slot, okay, we got man. I don't really know if we're going to scheme them up necessarily, but we can have somebody who can just win in space. That's Golden. I also think Golden plays, despite being a smaller wide receiver, he plays much bigger than his body at the catch point. He has like a pretty darn good catch radius all the same, but I think Tet, the versatility, The size, the physicality, it just kind of reminds me of, whether it be Marcus Colston or or Michael Thomas, the big slot wide receiver that we've seen Sean Payton love to utilize so much. So I think Tet is a better fit for Denver. I also don't think what did Golden run at the combine, 4.28 or something. I don't think he's actually a 4.28 guy.
No.
And I know that's what he tested, but I think he's more of like a 4.38 on film, 4.42. And I know I've heard some people talk about it watching the rep. They thought that the clock started a little late on Golden's measurement. I don't know if there's a conspiracy out there for that, but I've heard from multiple people that they're like, I don't actually know if we believe that. I think there might have been a malfunction there, hence why he ran and was like, okay, I'm done. All right, well, that's what it says. I'm going to put my shoes in this bag and we're done. But thank you, Coach Chris, $20. I think you're probably with me more of a Tet fan.
Yeah, I like Tet a lot more. Golden to me is, you mentioned Jerry Jeudy, the one name that I've heard, and I hate comparisons. It's often taken as a 1-for-1, but I had somebody mention that you see similarities there of Emmanuel Sanders, and now I can't unsee that, because when you think of Emmanuel Sanders, he kind of had like decent height, not great, but he was kind of lanky, didn't have much build, knows how to protect the catch point, but I wouldn't say that Golden or Sanders were, overly physical as receivers. But they're definitely guys that, the intermediate and deep stuff, that's where they're gonna, make their money in the NFL, and as well as some screens and very little bit short stuff and almost nothing into the middle of the field. Just because of that body type, you got to worry about them being able to stay healthy. And Sanders was, he took some hard hits to it, but it eventually started to catch up to him, and we saw that and saw it lead to him getting traded away. And then, with Golden every year we always get that one run that leads to these conspiracy theories, but the way they do it, it's the time on the that we see on the screen isn't the time they use. They have one that's on the computer that starts and everything like that. It's why the guy who runs it is so peculiar about the start, because the slightest movement starts the timer for it. The 4.28, it was a great run for him. It's what he got. It's what their electric timing does. And again, you can't go off what's on the screen because that's not what they use. They don't use that time. But yeah, Golden, I'd be fine with it. He's one of those guys, if Denver moved back from 20, then okay, but he's not a guy for me at 20. And ideally, he's not a guy that I would be looking at in the first round.
Yeah, and we'll see. Just talking about that. Thank you so much, Coach Chris, for the stars supporting us. We also got Jason Bonney saying, is Jeremiah Harris, cornerback from Iowa, worth a 6th-round flyer? Yeah, I mean, 6th round in this class, that makes sense. My thing with Harris is that I don't know how good he'll be in special teams. When you already have Chris Abrams-Drain and his diminutive profile, who they didn't trust to play base cornerback last season because of tackling concerns. I do wonder about Harris there. I might want to take just more of a height, weight, speed athlete that can run around personally there. But Harris was really good for Iowa this season. He worked his way up, became a leader in that program. So 6th round, sure. In this class, it's not high odds of hitting anyway, other than the running back position. I think you can find a running back 6th round this class, but everything else is long odds. So sure, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll have to defer to Nick here. I haven't watched Harris. I try to avoid watching Iowa as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, not everybody can look at such beauty and without being blinded. But on defense, at least. So the defense was not that good this season. I know you didn't, because you're talking about Caleb Johnson, and they switched to a mid zone this season. So not outside zone anymore. They switched their run scheme. So a little different. We got Troy Boer coming in here saying it's difficult to overstate how different the draft feels when you don't need a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, Troy, it's not, I mean, that's the big picture here, of course, but it's not just that. It's like outside of running back, you should be comfortable going into the season with pretty much every single spot. And especially at like dire spots. Like imagine if we were going in the season, like absolutely needing an offensive tackle. That would be not a good spot to be at 20 overall in this draft. Excuse me. I didn't mute myself for that one. But no, having the quarterback set really changes things. And also it's one thing, like the Broncos are putting the pedal to the metal, and everything they're saying with their money and actions says that they believe they're in the window right now, but it's not just a 2025 window. It's a 2025 through 2028 window. So I hope they approach this team building unlike kind of like the last years of Drew Brees, where it's like, we're definitely robbing the future to go for it this season because next year's not promised. We're in a 3 to 5 year window. So I hope things are approaching a 3 to 5 year window, and the moves they've made have, other than Ingram, have been more of that 3 to 5 year perspective window. They got flexibility. They went with younger guys on defense. They're not sabotaging the future. And I hope they continue to think that way with their draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of, so far anyways, we've kind of seen them realizing that, hey, we don't have to consistently sacrifice the future for now. If they were sitting there and willing to do that, I think we would have already seen a restructure of at least Mike McGlinchey or Ben Powers.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
since they haven't done that, it seems that they're still keeping their options open for the future, and they can get out of both of those contracts after the season. It's very doable. It's not the easiest to do, but it's doable. And so
Yeah.
they have this window open, and the window is open now, but I think it opens up even more next year, of course, when they get out from underneath that dead cap hit of Russell Wilson, which is still a pretty big drag this year, but they had all that extra, still had 40 million in cap space to work with. So yeah, I mean, it's still a situation where they don't want to void for the future, and we're kind of seeing them do that, work that way and operate that way so far this offseason.
The one caveat I'll push back there, Eric, just for the sake of conversation, is that you are in your window going forward, but this year compared to next season, we only were set to lose DJ Jones, and next year it's like a lot of key contributors are set to hit free agency, which is one reason I think you should be looking at the draft for linebacker, 5 technique, whatever you want, 4-eye technically, wide receiver. Like you're about to lose some. You're probably going to lose some key contributors.
Yeah, and they still are set to have over 100 million in salary cap space to work with next year.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's still plenty, and you don't even know. You don't even know how much the cap is going to grow with how it is. Yeah. Like that was the last thing I was going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Hal coming in and says, "Hey guys, good morning. Stay safe. We're doing the best we can." Conga says the dude abides. Yes, he does. I saw Quentin Caldwell's in the house. Great to see you. String Guy is in the house. Awesome to see you. Aaron Cooley says, "Love watching Mile High Huddle. Go Broncos. What do you guys think is most likely trade in the first round?" I'm thinking Giants moving back up to the first round. I think Giants are very possible. I'm also keeping an eye on the Steelers, potentially the moving up for a quarterback. Maybe somebody moving up like the Texans, now that they have that extra capital, maybe they move up for an offensive tackle that they've identified. Maybe somebody tries to jump the Steelers for a quarterback. We'll see. Right now, it seems like, Giants trying to get up to 1. Is that happening? I don't know. They're going to try hard. So it comes down to what do the Titans do in that first pick. But any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously depends on what happens at the beginning of the draft. If the Giants get to 1, they're taking Cam Ward. Obviously, that rules them out trading up later up for a quarterback. But if they miss out on Cam Ward, even though on Monday I put Shedeur Sanders at 9 to the Saints, it was one of those picks that I wasn't the most comfortable with. And there's a lot of talk of Shedeur Sanders falling to the late first round. Either way, there's a lot of talk about Jackson Dart going in the late first round. So if the Giants miss out on Cam Ward, maybe they're looking at moving up for Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. If they miss there, the Steelers, they could potentially be looking at moving up for Shedeur Sanders. And I mean, there's a bunch of other teams. If the Browns miss out on Cam Ward at number 2, because that's the quarterback they seem to be wanting there, maybe they're a team that looks at moving up and trying to get somebody. So there's always those options as teams try to, typically get that fifth round option. But over the years, I'm starting to question how much are we overinflating the NFL team's opinions of that 5th round option for quarterbacks, because we haven't seen them make those late moves for those borderline guys all that often over the last few years.
Yeah, a lot of guys, they're getting their deals before that 5th year option a lot of times. So I don't know how much it actually matters these days. Alistair Law coming in with the black and white John Elway photo there. Great. Says tuning in from Northern Ireland. Are you out there in Belfast? That's Northern Ireland? My geography out there is not always the best, but can't wait for the draft. Troy is right about the different feel. Well, appreciate you tuning in from X. I saw Quentin Caldwell is in here. Great to see you. I wanted to give some love also to, I saw, where are they at? Somebody else. Hey, yeah, Paul. Great to see you, Paul. Appreciate you coming in. And I saw we had a super chat come in from Jason Bonnie. Said, I don't hear much about Damian Martinez to Denver, but I think he's a round 4 value and has starting running back potential. Mark Ingramish. I love Martinez, and he's one of those other guys that I'm talking about, like round 3 to round 4. There's like a crop of guys that like somebody I really like is going to be there round 4 still. So if the Broncos go running back round 1, I'm looking again round 4. I'm looking again round 6. Broncos are by no means needing to absolutely take a running back round 1 or even round 2, and they're busted. Now, granted, a little bit more of a higher probability of a sure thing the earlier ago? Sure. But I mean, this draft class is unbelievably deep. I mean, Meet Martinez is great. I think that we're sleeping on Marquez Hunter is a really good guy, probably more round 6, but like he runs it. Jarquez Hunter, excuse me, from Auburn. He's great. And I also really like, he's got some injuries. I think he's a little older, but Rocket Sanders, Arkansas to South Carolina. I mean, he's a bowling ball early down guy as well. So you got options on options on options. It's insane. This is the best running back class since 2008.
Yeah. And to me, Damian Martinez in the 4th is better value than Hampton at 20. I would much rather go that route. In Hampton, I'm with you. He's one of those guys, round 3 to round 4 that I don't mind. He's a guy that you're looking for a very particular role in it, and it's that Mark Ingram role in Sean Payton's office, that more short yardage between the tackles back that he likes. I don't see much there as a receiver, but he's a decent enough pass protector to offer some third down value. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things that values. It's a great running back class, and if I'm Denver, I would be looking at taking 3 running backs in this class. One in the top 75 or one in the top 85, one somewhere with probably that 4th round pick, and then maybe depending on what happens with that 4th round pick, 1 or 2 with the 6th round picks, because there's going to be decent talent that falls that can still come in and contribute to the Broncos offense in some capacity as a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I see Chad coming in. We just mentioned him, Jarquez Hunter, mini deep dive. He was impressive in Mobile. Yeah, he's one of the running backs. I think he's probably more a 5th, 6th rounder because I don't know if he's overly explosive. But man, he runs his freaking butt off. Like every rep is like he's fighting through guys, and he's going to end up being a early down back in a committee somewhere in the league. I'm pretty confident in that. Tested well, built up pretty well. He's him and like I mentioned earlier, Sanders out, or excuse me, Sanders, Rocket Sanders out there, Raheem Sanders there at South Carolina. Really like the Kyle Monungai, Rutgers, another guy early down back that runs his tail off. I mean, honestly, I think this draft is so deep. Like the Broncos won't do this, and they shouldn't do this. But if they just waited on running back until the 6th round and took 2 of them, I think that's a little bit too risky considering where this team build is at right now. But if they sat there and waited and took, let's say, Jarquez Hunter round 6 and paired him with Brashard Smith or Jaden Blue or Marcus Yarns, that early down back to the pass catching back, you'd find serviceable players. And if I get a running back room in the aggregate, that would be fine. Now, I don't think Sean Payton will do that. The window, and you're in your window right now, I think they'll probably be more aggressive with more of a sure thing, more talented thing up top. But the class is that deep that you could do that and be fine. But there's probably more risk than the Broncos should take on waiting that long.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it a bit on Monday. I think it was Jordan Reed who he talked about how I think the most running backs drafted in a draft was 30, and he expects closer to 40 this year. That he has like 35 draftable grades right now on running backs. And there is so much talent here at it that, yeah, I mean, you could feasibly get those kind of guys in the 6th round that you're talking about. And again, it is much of a risk, or a lot of risk, as you highlighted as well. I like Jarquez Hunter. He's one of those backs that I like. He's one of my sleeper backs, I guess would be the way to put it, as that 5th or 6th round. He's one of those guys that if he gets to a certain point, I would consider packaging 2 of those 6th round picks to move up and go get him. Mm-hmm. I like him that much, but of course, after he falls to a certain range. So yeah, I like Hunter, and it's definitely plenty of options. But one thing too, when we talk about running backs, is it often gets overlooked because of his comments about the wide receiver position. But the Broncos have made multiple comments about how they are content with the running back room as it is, which obviously when you're talking about day 3 backs, when you're talking about somebody like Jarquez Hunter, Damian Martinez, it's not that impactful of it. But when you're talking about running back at 20, that is something that you have to consider a little bit more, because so far what the Broncos have done this offseason has been very much in line with the comments that we have had from Sean Payton and George Payton over the past couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Jarquez Hunter right now, Eric, as deep as this running back class is, I only have 6 running backs I actually like in the top 85. And after that, it's like, give me round 4. Like, I think like Cam Scatterbo, I don't really love him at 85, but the Broncos 4th round pick, that's fine. Tootin, Giddens, Neal, Harvey, Martinez, Yeah, those next guy, I think somebody's going to be there. 4th round. I'd be happy with any of those guys at that spot. So super chat starting to roll in now. Mark Schrader, good morning. Nick and Eric, coffee sip to you, good friend. Appreciate you. Also, Mike Gibbons coming in here with the 1999 super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. We need to get to our topic here, Eric. We're probably going to go a little long. Hopefully my wife doesn't get mad at me. Top 5 free agency signings ranked for the Broncos this season. My number 5, I'm getting a little bit of stability in the room, returning a guy that the vibes just seem really high and there's a little bit of synergy. I'm going to go with Jarrett Stidham. Denver did not break the bank to bring him back. And my 2 guys who don't make it honorable mentions, Strnad, happy to have him back. The Sherfield, happy to have him in here for special teams, but I'm going to go Stidham at 5.
Yeah, I mean, I was considering between 2 guys, obviously. Justin Strnad, he's probably that 7th guy. Good special teamers. Gets a lot more hate than he should for his play on defense last year, but it was not great. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't great. But he showed enough that it's like if injuries happen and you have to, all right, you can turn to him. But my number 5 is Sherfield, just because you lost your main special teamer in Tremon Smith. It's a little bit more than you would like to see for a special teamer, but the special teams guys that I know absolutely praise him. Talk about how he's one of the best pure special teamers out there. And if you want blocking at the wide receiver position, he will give you blocking at the wide receiver position. Doesn't offer much else as a receiver, few catches here and there. But yeah, I like him just a little bit more than I would like to see, but it's not to a point where it's like, oh, this is such a big talking point. But yeah, I like what he brings as a blocker and on special teams.
Yeah, that's a that's a great one. We'll see how it plays. I was debating him and Stidham, but I just thought, getting that backup quarterback in here, somebody who Webb likes, who Nix likes, losing Wilson. I think it was good to bring back Stidham for what he got, not a big contract. My number 4, I debated 3 and 4 a lot here, Eric, and I know that he's a little bit more of the shiny object, but in my opinion, he plays the least important position on the defensive side of the field. And with his injuries and everything, I'm a little bit concerned. It's really only one good year. Now, it was an all-pro year, but other than that, he's never played more than, I think, 660 snaps in a season. And so I'm talking about Talanoa Hufanga. Now, the contract is favorable for Denver, but, $13 million a year for a guy who's only had one healthy full season scares me, especially when somebody who I really liked out there and Justin Reed's getting $3 million less a year, who I think is a much more stable player all the same. So I like Hufanga. I think the ceiling is as high as any of the Broncos signings this season. But I do worry about just how consistently he's been injured out there. I know that the 33rd team, Marcus Mosher, who I appreciate, said that was one of the more risky signings this offseason. An article for them, Broncos Country, kind of recoiled at that. But I'm going to put Hufanga at 4. I debated 3 and 4, but I'm going to put him there, just least valuable position, paid him a lot, and he's missed so much time. I think it's a pretty volatile signing. Contract matches that, though.
I'm rather curious if your number 3 is my number 4, because my 5 it was your 6, my 6 was your 5, and see if that continues. But yeah, I'll get to Hufanga here when I get him on my ranking. But my number 4 guy is DJ Jones.
Yep.
Just because DJ Jones, he's a nose tackle. He plays less than 42% of the snaps for the Broncos. You slightly overpaid him, and we can say that for sure because of what we've seen other players of his type get on the free agent market. It's good that they kept him around. It's good that he helped get, Greenlaw and Hufanga in Denver. He's great for the locker room. He provides value. I'm not hating on the signing by any means. If I had to give this a letter grade, I'd be giving it a B or B plus. It's just I think the other 3 signings are a little bit better and offer a little bit more value and bang for your buck. You talked about Hufanga with his injuries. Well, $13 million on an average per year basis for 41% of the snaps. That to me isn't great, especially when you have guys like Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers up for extensions, who both should be extended. But yeah, I like DJ Jones. He's good for a run defender. As a run defender, he's going to help bring balance to that. And hopefully the Broncos are able to, get a little bit better behind him to help, make him look a little bit better, and as well making him look better with or having him do better to help out the guys around him. We saw that in the Buffalo Bills game. A lot of the focus was on the linebackers and edges, but if you watch, the interior kind of got manhandled a little bit, which made life more complicated for the edges and linebackers and helping lead to their struggles. So DJ Jones, he's my number 4 guy.
Yep, and my number 3 is DJ Jones, just because he was one of the better run defenders last season. It brings a lot of value in that. I don't mind that he plays 40% of the snaps or whatever, Eric, because I want to have a heavy rotation on the defensive line. Excuse me. So DJ Jones, but I'm with you. I think they overpaid for bringing him back after the linebacker market went crazy. I think they were happy to allocate some funds there. But looking at the likes of two other guys that I was highly interested in Poona Ford and Bobby Brown, now DJ Jones should have gotten paid more than them, but he's making $13 million a year, where Poona Ford is making 9.2. Bobby Brown is making 7. I don't think that DJ Jones is 6 to 5 million per year
just
more.
Just to interject here, Poona Ford is a much better run defender than DJ Jones is, and has offered more as a pass rusher. So that's the defensive tackle. That's that nose tackle that I look at the most when I look at DJ Jones's value with his contract.
I haven't watched Poona Ford enough to put both those guys in a box to say that. I do know that DJ Jones' metrics as a run defender were some of the best in the league last season, but some of the benefits there is they play a very blitz-oriented scheme, so he's not having as many double teams that he's having to take on with everything else that Denver had. He's in a better situation down to down, supportive wise, compared to Poona Ford. But is he 4 million, 6 million per year better than those two guys? I don't know. But I debated 3 and 4 here with Hufanga and Jones. So I'm fine with Jones. I'm happy to have him back again. Sounds like a great locker room guy, all the same, but I do think that Ford and Brown, especially Brown being 24 years old, would have, for their contracts, might have interested me a little bit more.
Yeah. And then my guy here is Hufanga, and we just flipped them there. The only reason why I put him ahead of DJ Jones, same concerns as you, injuries, hasn't played more than a whole lot of snaps. 2022 was his last full year, and it was a great year, all pro year, but it's just 1 year out of it. How much have the injuries taken effect? The reason why I put him higher than Jones is because even though the contract overall isn't great, the way they structured it is outstanding. If he gets hurt this year, they can get out of that contract for almost nothing. They structured it. It's a series of 1-year deals, basically. And so if he doesn't pan out this year, Denver can cut bait, move on, and have hardly any impact on the salary cap with dead money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I see we have some details on Hufanga's contract. 3 years, 39 million base, 20 million guaranteed over the first 2 years. Also an option bonus and max void years, which holds his 2025 cap number to just 3.412 million. I want to see what it looks like graphically, I guess, or on a chart, a spreadsheet. But yeah, there it is on that. So Hufanga's contract, just this, how much he's missed. That one's, and how devalued safety is on the whole. That one scares me more. I think DJ Jones, even though you overpaid a little bit, it's more of a sure thing. All the same.
My number 2, the full breakdown of his contract.
What was that?
I can pull up the full breakdown of his contract.
We don't have time. But that's we'll see how it all plays out with that one. My number 2, I'm going to go with Dre Greenlaw, just because of what the linebacker market did, and I know that the Broncos got a pretty favorable structure of the deal as well. I think that he's with where linebackers at right now, you're playing less linebackers, and if you have competence there, it's great. I know he's risky as well, but again, linebackers' value is raised, and I think Greenlaw if he was healthy, he's pushing 20 million a year, I believe. So I like Hufanga at number 2 here. I debated on him number 1, but the injury stuff scared me enough to knock him down.
Greenlaw.
That's what I said, isn't it?
You said Hufanga there at the end.
Oh, Greenlaw. Excuse me. Yes, Greenlaw.
Yeah, and for me, it's Ingram. Again, we're just switched here. Ingram for me, age,
good content,
injuries, and he's getting 2 years guaranteed. Yeah. Again, the way the contract was structured does matter. And I think that Greenlaw being younger you can be careful of it. And plus his injury was a freak injury. It's not like he's missed a lot of time due to injuries. It was one freak injury in the Super Bowl that caused him to basically miss all of last season. Whereas Evan Ingram, he has a broader history of it, doesn't have that one freak injury like Greenlaw does. They're a little bit more lingering. He missed some games last year because of a hamstring issue, and then he tore his labrum to end the season. So Ingram, to me, a little bit more risk with the contract, a little bit rougher all around. And then Greenlaw, again, with the contract structured, being such, again, both players feel such a massive need, but a tight end takes a little bit longer to bring in, but you can still find tight ends later. Linebacker is one of those positions, and you talk about this a lot, that's really hard for NFL teams to evaluate, especially early on. And so it's just with all that factoring the draft in, it's why, Evan Ingram is my number 2, and then Dre Greenlaw is my number 1.
And my number 1's Ingram, because we can stop talking about Joker and obsessing on it and having the same mock over and over again. Although now we're having it again with Hampton. So whatever. But I think bringing in Ingram, getting a weapon for Bo Nix, and just giving yourself a little bit more, you gave yourself more options in the draft with that. So it's a 2-for-1 for me. You gave yourself better chance to go BPA early and let the board fall to you. And adding somebody who Sean Payton has mentioned is a must-have for this team. So that's why Evan Ingram is my number 1. All of those guys besides DJ Jones, you have some concern with the injury luck. But let's get it rolling here on a mock. We're going to do this one quickly today. We won't do a full first-round mock like we did on next Monday. We'll just do a Broncos one out of the gate. But let's get this one rolling here. I made it random here for the Broncos, so we'll see how it falls. And it is very random here. So here we are, Eric. Jade Barron, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, Luther Burden, Donovan Ezaraku, Emeka Egbuka, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, Darius Alexander, Gray Zabel, Colston Loveland, Amarian Hampton. I think those are your viable guys here. Who do you want?
Jade Barron. I think at this point the value is just too much to pass up on.
All right, so one position that who knows where his exact spot is on this team, but you figure it out, and maybe you trade Jaquan McMillan from that one. I don't know, but I really do love him in here. So I love Barron. Maybe it's a little bit of a luxury, but gosh, he's just such a good player, man. I really love him. I think I probably would have gone with Colston Loveland on that one, just because I think there's still obviously a pathway to playing time. We talk about start looking towards your future free agents. Well, guess what? Tight ends a future free agent as well. And if you want to be a 12 personnel heavy team, you need 2. And I think Evan Ingram can take in some little Jordan Humphreys big receiver snaps as well. So there's still a role for Colston on this team all the same. But I love Barron as well. So I got no complaints there. And we're on the board. Go ahead.
And just real quick, you mentioned, future free agents. Well, Riley Moss, 2 years. Jaquan McMillan, 2 years. You have Brandon Jones. If you view Barron as a safety, he's got 2 years. For a defensive back that's versatile, I think there's an easier pathway to make a play immediately, especially when you factor in all the injuries that they've had in the secondary, than Colston Loveland. I view actually Loveland more as a luxury than Barron does.
Interesting. Man, I just think Loveland's such a good playmaker that, and you still need tight ends and stuff. Ingram's missed time. He's older, 2-year contract. I think there's more of a obvious pathway to playing time without displacing already good talent, but draft good players. And if you like Barron on your board more than Loveland straight up, I have absolutely no issue with it at all. On the board here now for the Broncos, Scourton falling to 51. I mean, gosh, that's an interesting one. I think the guy to go with here is Tyleik Williams. Can play 1 technique, can play 3 technique. You signed DJ Jones back. Well, Tyleik's more explosive, better length than some of those guys. And Malcolm Roach is 1 year left on the contract. You give yourself some long-term versatility. You also have Carson Schwechsinger, who I think's in play here. Elijah Arroyo. I really love Jared Ivey. I'm glad to see he's starting to get some play here as well. So for me, actually looking at the board, I'm between, I love Besh as well, but I think Tyleik Williams or Carson Schwechsinger.
Yeah, I mean, I lean Jack Besh here, getting another playmaker for the offense. Cool. Tyleik Williams with DJ Jones back. I mean, if DJ Jones wasn't back, I'd go Tyleik Williams. I know that Tyleik Williams is, a little bit more versatile of a defender, but Jack Besh just fits so well with what Sean Payton wants to do offensively and adds that blocking that you're kind of missing from the receiver position currently.
So we're on the board now with the Broncos at 85. I'm letting you take the wheel on this one, Eric. I'm just hosting. We got Mason Taylor. Broncos still looking for a tight end. I mean, very young, smooth player. Maybe not the overwhelming athleticism, but obviously interesting. You got Kevin Winston Jr., very physical safety. DJ Giddens, is this where we take running back now? We also have Savion Williams, who's a really unique player. Pair him up with the other wide receiver. Really do think that maybe Fannin Jr. at this spot. Deion Walker, I think, comes into play here as well. We haven't gone to interior defensive line yet, and he's a unique profile. So those are the ones who stand out for me on this one. Where do you want to go?
Mason Taylor.
Let's go Mason Taylor then, baby. Rocking and rolling. So we have not gone running back yet. Let's see if the proof of concept on running back still being available for the Broncos. You got Blue still, you got Martinez still, you got Smith, you got Hunter, ETN, Monungai, Yarns, plenty of good options there if that's the direction you want to go. I haven't gone interior defensive line yet either. CJ West and Caldwell are very good options. I would like JJ Pegas as well. Where do you want to go? Martinez? Finally going running back?
I'll go Martinez, but JJ Pegues, I just got to throw out as potential joker option just because, he's played Wildcat quarterback. He has just been used so many ways. He used to be a tight end. He actually has like a few catches, and some of his catches in college are from Bo Nix.
Fun. Gotta love it. A lot of fun there with that one. So we're on the board again, 6th round. Just call it out here, Eric, because we do got to run. Anybody who stands out, you got your Dante Thornton who ran crazy. Conyers going to tight end there. Biggers is very fun and interesting.
Biggers.
Let's go Zeke Biggers. All righty. Rocking and rolling there. We're on the board again. We got Jalen Lane is a very good deep pick here. I know you like Tim Smith. We still have not gone interior defensive line at all. We could go with a more power running back. We already did, actually. We go LaQuint Allen here. Major's interesting. Miles Frazier had a good time. I like CJ Dippre a lot as well. Taj Velton, great pick here. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would go LaQuint Allen with this pick.
LaQuint Allen. So not an explosive guy, but very good receiver. We're on the board again. What are you thinking here? Tim Smith. I know you're a big Tim Smith fan. This is good value for him, in my opinion. Also, I want to see if I really like Q from Alabama. He must already be gone. If he falls to the 6, I'd be all about him. Really good special teams player. But where are you thinking?
Can you click over to just interior offensive line real quick?
Unfortunately, Frazier went. If that's who you're with. He went the next pick. That's probably where I would have gone with that pick, but that's all good. Slater?
Joshua Gray. He's going to be a center in the NFL, Oregon State. Smart, one of the very high football IQ. Don't think he's actually here. Think he's gone by now. He was one of the guys that they really wanted to see do center drills at the combine. And from all accounts is that he's just been absolutely killing it every step of this process. And yeah, adding competition at center, I'm for it. Joshua Gray adds competition at center.
Well, there you go. A lot of fun. And we waited till day 3 to take running back. I don't know if the Broncos will do that, but in the aggregate, Martinez and Allen really do change the room. The one thing I would like is I wish you had a little bit more explosiveness in your pass catcher than what Allen offers, but he's going to be a serviceable player that you can flex out and do what you need to there. So yeah, this is good. A lot of fun. Different direction for the Broncos for sure. Sticking in the South there until we get to the 6th round, but that's okay. There is good football in the Big Ten, Eric, despite what you say about Iowa, but no, it's a fun mock there. Fun to talk, hang out with all you guys today. It was great to see you. I know we got a last super chat coming in here from Michael Ronquillo as well. Great show today, Nick and Eric on Broncos for Breakfast. Thank you so much, Michael. Mike Gibbons, Mark Schrader as well, Chad Jensen, Boss Man, Jason Bonney, Troy Boer, of course, our guy, Coach Chris. You guys killing it, keeping the lights on with us. Appreciate everybody coming in here. Yeah, Jeremy, that was for you. We had time to squeeze in the mock. I do got to fly now, but that's all good. Make sure you guys are following us at Mile High Huddle. Also, make sure you're following us on Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you haven't done so yet, we're over at YouTube, of course. Like, subscribe, and share if you're over there. And follow Eric and I, of course. I'm over on X Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Eric's at Erick Trickel. Final thoughts, Eric. Your 2-sentence close here.
No, hope everybody has a wonderful few days. We're in the middle of the week. We're on that hump day, and I'll see you guys Friday night.
Yeah, appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next week. Continue to choose kindness and compassion. Hopefully I don't have a new illness by that point. We'll see. Go Broncos.